Good evening and welcome to planning board members, applicants, participants, and interested parties to the April 16th, 2025 meeting of the Cohasset Planning Board. The board is now in session on Zoom platform. I'm Amy Glassmeyer, the chair of the Cohasset Planning Board for now, and will be running tonight's meeting as we implement the Massachusetts Chapter 40A and Cohasset zoning bylaw. The board is now in session at 6:31. And I will now take roll call of the board members. Please respond by repeating your name and saying present. Mr. Brewer.
Present.
Amy Glassmeyer, present.
Kevin Heine, present.
And Birgit Schmidt-Wiesche, present.
All right, thank you very much. Tonight, right now, we have a quorum of 4. It is possible that our other member will join us in some time in the future. Passage of any items that we will be voting on will be by simple majority. So right now it would be 4. Also present this evening on behalf of the planning board are our town planner, Cassandra Thayer, and our town council, Carolyn Murray. So let me give a few instructions to the public about how the meeting will proceed, and then we'll just get going. So instructions to the audience for participation. If anyone in the audience has questions for the board, please put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen or use the raise hand function and wait to be called on. And before you speak, you must first state your name and your address. Please limit discussion to 3 minutes. And let me just throw in a commercial, which is, incidentally, if there's a member of the public who would be interested in becoming a member of the planning board, please speak with one of the board members or contact Cassandra Thayer at Town Hall, as we have an open position. So I'm going to give a quick overview of what the evening's discussions will be about, and then we'll move in directly to the first item. So a quick review. We're reopening the March 10th, 2025 hearing for a site plan review for 165 Chief Justice Highway. We will reopen the hearing and ask the applicant whether they have new information to provide, and if necessary, we will continue the hearing to another date and time. The second item of the evening will be a discussion amongst the board members and potentially our legal counsel and planner regarding 42 Rust Way and the land alteration bylaw. So that's basically what we'll be doing this evening. So let's basically begin with the discussion of 165 Chief Justice Highway, and I'm reopening the hearing, and we will ask the members of the applicant's team to indicate if they have information they wish to provide. They do. We also ourselves, as the planning board, have a peer review that we will be discussing in sequence. So if the if the applicant would like to begin, we can start the conversation about the site plan review.
Just for clarification, Amy, the discussion for 42 Rustway was first on the agenda. Are we flip-flopping the agenda items?
Oh, I see. That's not how I saw it. So should we start with that one then?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, so then if we're going to start with 42 Rust Way, this is a discussion amongst the planning board members regarding the decision that was made previously and the prospect that everyone has looked at the changes that might have been made by the applicant. And now the question is, on the basis of the changes that are made by the applicant, do we feel that we are going to make a determination that would bring the 42 Rust Way to a close.
Would you like me to promote Mr. Hassett as the representative?
Please, thank you.
All right, thank you, Cassandra. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Jeff Hassett here. I'm a civil engineer with Morse Engineering, and I'm here on behalf of the property owners, Kayla and Brian DeMoulin. They own the property at 42 Russ Way. And to give you a quick history of the project and why we're here, this project is a single-family home project. It was permitted back with the Conservation and the Building Department back in 2022. And at that point, it did not require a land disturbance special permit. We then went back in front of Conservation in November with an amended plan to add a sport court. And the house project is 90% complete, but they haven't completed the hardscape, the landscape, and as part of that, they want to add a sport court. So that was approved under a NOI and a stormwater permit in November from Conservation. At the time, we weren't aware of the zoning bylaw change that we now had to go in front of the planning board for a special permit. So when that was brought to our attention by the building inspector, we filed with you. The plans from 2022 permitted a lot of the ledge removal in the area of the sport court, but in order to fit it, we need an additional 408 square feet to be removed. So that is specifically the only part of the project we're here for. So we filed that application. We had a hearing in February. We left that hearing thinking it was approved unanimously 4-0. And then, one member emailed Cassandra the next day saying they were misheard, which made it a 3-1 vote, still a majority, but due to the makeup of the board and the number of members present, we actually needed a 4-0 vote, which we didn't even know at the time. So therefore, that's why we're back in front of you. We've revised the application and we've refiled a new application. We did not refile the same plans that you already saw before. The new plans are dated March 13th for the site plan and March 14th for the landscape plans. And the difference is that we redesigned the parking area. Before, it was just a squared off area for 2 cars, a little bit bigger than 2 cars. And now we made it smaller and more irregularly shaped. By doing that, we're able to provide much more than a 1-to-1 ratio of what's being preserved or exposed versus what's being removed. On the original application, we were well under the 1-to-1. Your bylaw doesn't require, but it does suggest, where possible to provide the 1-to-1. So in this case, we've made improvements to the plan. We've made those changes to it, and it's now more of the ledge that's being preserved is more of a natural look without 90-degree angles. It's curved and there's more ledge being protected. So the intent this evening, you're not voting on the project to approve or not. It's only whether or not the plans have been, there's been specific and material changes to the plans that we filed. We believe these changes do show on the plans. Assuming you agree, this would be advertised as a public hearing for the May 14th hearing. So that's all I have for now. I'll pass it back to you.
Would it be useful to just see the plan that we approved and the plan that they're proposing for the purposes of making this determination of substantially different?
Yep, I have that right here.
Yeah.
So why don't I start with the plan that... This is the plan that we presented originally, and the parking lot, the driveway is squared off. And this is the ledge. The difference, here it is, the blue area is being preserved, the orange is being removed. That was a less than 1-to-1 ratio. On the new plans, we're exposing some ledge in this area. We're also cutting that angle off, so it's really only enough room for 1 car and has more of a natural curved look. And by doing that, we've increased the amount of ledge to be preserved or exposed from 432 square feet to 708 square feet.
So almost double the ledge preservation is the second approach.
Yeah, it's a 1.7 to 1. I think it's like 1.73.
Okay,
So this isn't the site plan in blue showing the same area.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff, do you have a picture of the situation?
Like a photograph of the site.
Yes.
Yeah, I submitted that.
I remember seeing, I remember seeing it. I think it's in our submittal plans in the application materials.
Here, I have it. Sharing. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the corners of the pickleball court. This is the downhill left side. You can see a stake up here for the upper corners. And now, I guess this is kind of outside of the viewport, but this area here of ledge, going kind of off the page, is what's going to be preserved. Now, if you look at this site on an aerial image from 2021, it's completely wooded. You can barely make out that there's ledge in this area. Over the last couple of years of work, this was mostly all approved work area. They've removed some of the ledge already within their rights, and they've also cleared the whole area off and had it ready to go to have some to be partially removed.
Birgit, did you have a comment? I thought I saw you.
Yeah,
wanting to
I would like to point to our bylaw as we have it since December, which is not going by the square footage. It's going by volume. And so the volume, and I think you provided the volume figures for the ledge to be removed, and I think also the one that you are suggesting to preserve, and then what we really should look at to start out with is what the bylaw is asking, and the bylaw is asking that the amount of ledge to be removed in cubic yards should be matching the project that you actually want to build. And so if we start right there, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? Yeah, I have multiple emails and information points open here. So the ledge to be removed is altogether, it would probably help if you just leave it on, yeah, Jeff, the plan.
Okay. Let me pull it back up.
Yeah. It helps just to kind of see. Thank you much. And if you could just kind of zoom into what we are looking at, the orange and the blue areas. Perfect. So again, matching that we are requiring has to do, kind of come on a volume level. So the volume cubic yards for the ledge to be removed, you provided as 115 cubic yards. Now this is the ledge itself is only cutting across part of the pickleball field. But leave that aside, even if you take now the entire pickleball field plus kind of a walkway around it, and look at the that because that's the project that you want to build. So I think I try to calculated, kind of how large a pickleball field is and how deep you should go and how much, kind of room to leave for walking around it. But I came to say like something, kind of above 30 cubic yards. And that's already, as I said, kind of, it's pretty generous, that type of calculation. And so if you just to have that, kind of to say, okay, that's already, kind of, kind of 1-3, almost 1-4 ratio of what, kind of is taken away for what needs to be built. Then the ledge that is below, right by the parking area, is a lot flatter than the ledge, kind of across the pickleball field. And now I would have to look it up again, kind of, Cassandra, you sent us the email today, right? With and I would have to, let's see whether I can find it. So the volume of the ledge that was previously approved to be removed but will remain is 17 cubic yards. And that's the hatch blue area. So now, kind of, we kind of don't have the, the numbers matching up here. I see, kind of the square footage, but I don't see, kind of the, kind of ratio that we are asking for in the bylaw. Now, this is, kind of, in a way, was already the reason why I denied it in the first place. Now, in order for this discussion here, what we want to do is to look at the plan, whether with respect to those facts that I just laid out, there has been in the meantime with your new plan, a significant and material change, so that we can move forward. But as I see right now, there is the numbers still do not, kind of match up. And so, for a material change, just as an example, right? I would have expected the pickleball field to move some other area so that we won't have to deal with the ledge removal. That would have been a significant change for me. But the numbers, to adjust them just a tiny bit, where they were quite not matching in the first place, kind of is not significant for me.
Yeah, so I mean, is there an inherent conflict between cubic volume and area? Because in terms of exposing ledge as a offset to removing ledge, the exposed ledge, it wouldn't really be a volume, it would be an area. So maybe there's an inherent conflict between the preservation of ledge or exposing of ledge and then removing in terms of volume and area. Because if it
Sure.
you're not putting the ledge back, you know what I mean? So that
Oh,
you're not creating
exactly.
new volume of ledge. Once the ledge is gone, it's gone. But for the purposes of our discussion, I see your point where a material change might have been changing the elevation of the pickleball court. But I will say, as I think I said at our previous hearing, that this is a tight site. There's not a lot of room here for anything, because of all the Concom's jurisdiction and the wetlands in the front. And I guess that, Amy, maybe it makes sense for all four of us to weigh in on whether we think what's been proposed is significant enough a change to warrant having scheduling another hearing for what's proposed, or whether the applicant needs to go back and sharpen their pencil. And
Right.
I would say, at this point, I'm not sure. I'd like to hear what the other board members say.
All right, Kevin?
Yeah, I don't think based on what I've heard thus far, the changes are material enough to get the applicant or the representative for the applicant where they want to be. And they can owe it to the fact that this is a tight, heavily, proposed developed lot, or improved lot for the home and the accessories, driveways and parking areas and walks, to access the home and areas around it. I'd ask Jeff if any consideration was made to reorientate, if they wanted to have a pickleball court on this area, to reorient it. Maybe keep it in the same area of the site, but could it be positioned 90 degrees to the way it's oriented now, and take over part of the driveway, and then you have a dual use area of the site where you use it for parking when you're not playing pickleball. When you want to play pickleball, you move the cars away from it, and you've got the lines already on the area where you park the cars, and it's a dual use surface for parking, storing vehicles, or for pickleball play if you park further down this long driveway. There's no shortage of areas to park here. Now, I know you may like to have areas where you park your car and you're done with it, and then you have people over to play pickleball and they need parking for them. But those are the I think along the lines of the ideas for getting creative. If you really want to have something and you got to fit it into the existing regulations that we have in place now that we need to use and look at, and if they do say volume, which they do, there's a reason they say volume, because exposed ledge isn't, and we can all attest to that just with each individual's familiarity with the ledge in this town. It's not just a flat surface that you walk on typically. These promontories that we have in town are exposed ledge, and that's the reason they're still promontories after periods of time beyond our lifetimes and those of our kids and our kids' kids will remain that until someone takes a piece of excavation equipment to it or a piece of pyrotechnics to it to level it. So that's part of the reason why we have to look at this on a holistic standpoint of not just the top-down aerial photograph and what's the area and how are we swapping it out, but how does it look from a horizontal, vertical look, and does it provide some elevation difference? What's the volume accounting for that elevation difference? If it needs to be taken out, that's a different number than looking at it from a square footage standpoint. So I'll leave it at that, as those are my current comments.
So the zoning bylaws, they do mention the volume, and the problem with the volume though is that we're only calculating the volume of ledge that otherwise would have been removed, not necessarily what's being. It's only the volume would have been removed. They speak more to the face area, the area or the face, the portion that's exposed and you're going to see. And that's what they're referring to in providing the 1-to-1 ratio. The zoning bylaws also don't actually require a 1-to-1 ratio. It's mentioned, but I'll remind you the one other project that I filed where a special permit was granted, we didn't expose any ledge. It was for a driveway. And the reason is that we certainly could have. There was plenty of other ledge that could have been preserved. But in that case, it wasn't really going to be visible to anyone else, and you might have to cut down some trees to expose it. And it didn't really make sense in that case. Now, every property is unique, I know. But in this case, although there's a portion here that needs to be removed to build the pickleball court, this is the portion you're going to see from the road. There's going to be heavy screening along the property line. And it's really that area that is significant. And that's the way the zoning bylaws read as well. It's the area of the face. So, I mean, in my opinion, yeah, we definitely looked at different elevations for the pickleball court. That really didn't make sense. Rotating it is not desirable to the homeowners. There wouldn't be anywhere to park when they have friends over to play pickleball. So, and the ball would roll down the hill, down the driveway and into the road. With this layout, there's a 5-foot tall hedge and a face of ledge around it. It's really going to be a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing area. It's not going to be visible from the road at all. Once the trees mature, it's not going to be visible from the neighbors. The only portion you're going to see is this ledge, which is now being preserved. In my opinion, it's a huge change in that we made the driveway way smaller, and we've almost doubled the amount of ledge that's being preserved. I mean, that's way more than what was asked for at the last meeting and discussed. So I don't know, in my opinion, it does comply. At the next meeting, hopefully this will go to an actual public hearing and we can get further into that. But for the time being, in my opinion, this is a significant change, and there really aren't any opportunities to change it much further with just the size of the property.
Let me just quickly say, like for your other application, I think the one that we heard at the same time, we heard the 42 West for the first time, that was a different constellation. It was if you move something from one side to the other, you know, kind of from one place to the other on the same, you know, kind of property and lot, that is exempt. That's different. Now here, you know, kind of we did you know, kind of look into this volume question for very good reason, so that, you know, a huge ledge in the way of something, you know, kind of is not going to be taken away, just for example, for a driveway, which really needs in height only, you know, kind of very minimal volume compared to the big ledge that you would be taking away. So, you know, this is similar maybe reasoning here, you know, kind of, as I said, you know, kind of the numbers do not match up. We have the very flat pickleball field, and if we would be going very, very strictly, we could, you know, kind of probably only look at the area where the ledge is and calculate that off of the pickleball field, and then we're down to 10. So, you know, kind of, and then it's a ratio of 1 to 10 that we would be looking at, you know, kind of volume of, you know, 150 cubic yards of ledge that has to go for, you know, maybe, you know, 10 cubic yards of the corner of pickleball field that we're looking at here. So we really have to kind of, this is the starting, you know, kind of, this was where we started the discussion. And then, you know, kind of the, you know, kind of having, you know, the exposure of other ledge somewhere is not necessarily something, as far as I, you know, kind of interpret our bylaws correctly, I kind of, we can look into that if it is, you know, kind of a very significant matching, but we don't necessarily have to. And so the fact that, yeah, kind of even the matching here in square footage, yes, because it's a pretty flat ledge there around the parking, you know, kind of, we get to a larger square footage, but volume wise, you know, kind of, it was, you know, kind of 17, you know, square cubic yards, I think. So we are by no means getting into the range that we are looking. And again, this is not necessary.
So the problem with calculating the volume of the ledge is you really can't calculate the volume of ledge to be exposed. It's really a square footage calculation.
Right.
If you have to calculate the volume, how deep do you go? There's really no way to do that.
It's also, it's how high you go.
So that's why you're getting a low volume. It's only the volume that otherwise would have been removed. It's not the volume of what's being exposed.
Yeah, and I see that this ledge bylaw is a part of the alteration bylaw, that it's not a prohibition against ledge removal. It's that it has a special permit review, and then we get to talk about what options there might be to meet the project goals, that kind of thing. Not a prohibition to ledge removal. That's not what the bylaw was about, because that would be a problem for 50% of the properties in Cohasset.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, it is, kind of a basis that we need to look at.
Well,
and-
I think I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to
Oh, you
just
just
quickly
did.
say that the intent is to, like, if you want to remove ledge, hey, stop, just wait. If you really have to do it, what are your goals? Did you look at any options? And the exchange was sort of like a way to kind of mitigate that, but not a requirement. But the applicant has volunteered to do that, and maybe we're getting into the weeds a little bit here, because we're really just talking about whether what's proposed is material enough a change to have another permit, or the applicant has to go back and rethink what their approach might be, and then come back so that we can make another vote to say, oh yes, that's a material enough change. Maybe council, do you have any suggestions for our board right now? Because I think we spent a lot of time talking about this, and maybe we just have to get to the heart of the thing and decide whether what we've seen is material enough or not.
Sure, I'd be happy to jump in on that, Clark. Unfortunately, it's a bit subjective,
Yeah.
right? Because,
Oh, good.
Besides the fact that every site and every application is unique and different, the way the statute is written, it really is just up to what the board finds to be specific and material changes. And, there isn't any guidance in terms of, say, in this instance, a ratio of ledge to be removed versus ledge to be exposed. So it really is a matter of the board's subjective discretion here as to whether or not you think what is being discussed, just on a higher level at this point, not getting into the weeds of it specifically, but do you think you see enough on this revised proposed plan that the board thinks it's different enough that it would be that it would warrant a new application, new hearing to consider it? The purpose of the statute in this prohibition against repetitive petitions was really intended so that you didn't get the same application filed over and over and over,
Right,
with the hopes.
same drawing, same date,
drawings,
everything.
we'll
Same
just everything.
Refile you every 3 months, and
Yeah, with
Okay.
the hopes that, well, maybe there's a slight change in the composition of the board. So maybe this time is going to be, my lucky time where I, third
Right.
time lucky where the board says, okay, fine.
Okay.
And it's also intended so that the board's meeting agendas don't get mucked up with repetitive things where we've said, look, we've told you 100 times, we're never going to approve this.
Yeah.
So that's probably not as technical as you would have liked in terms of some guidance,
No, that's
but
good.
I think it
It's
is very
subjective. That's the important thing.
subjective and
Yeah.
really up to the board's discretion.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not talking about removal of, half an acre, a 40-foot high ledge outcropping that's on a major street like Beach Street or something like that, that we've seen in the past. But Birgit, you wanted to make another comment. I'll be quiet.
No, maybe I wave my hands. Sorry. No.
Could I throw something at you? Can I make a comment?
Brian.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Fraser, but this
Yes.
is not.
You're the
a
landscape architect.
discussion- Excuse me, Mr.
Go ahead.
Fraser and Clark, this is not a discussion amongst the public and the planning board. This is a discussion of the planning board.
Brian's the landscape architect.
Brian is one of the representatives.
I understand that, but
I'm not an applicant, representative of the applicant.
this is not a public hearing. This is.
I
Jeff.
understand, but we left Jeff Hassett talk,
I'm no different than Jeff.
and Brian Fraser is the landscape architect for this project.
This is Brian's plan we're looking at.
Yeah, you're looking at my plan.
I understand that too. And the reason that the discussion took place between Ms. Birgit Schmidt and Jeff Hassett is because the negotiation and conversation was originally elicited in the interaction between Jeff and Birgit. And it was not meant to be a public discussion. It was meant to be a fact-finding discussion so that we could be oriented toward changes. Otherwise, we would have had no way to actually determine whether there was a significant change or not. We
Right,
knew-
Amy, but we asked Jeff Hassett to show the two plans and if Ryan Fraser has something material at this point, this is a 3-person vote to allow this plan to go forward
Right.
or say that they have to make a more material change. And
I was
would
requested
urge
to
have
revise the
Fraser
plan.
Make his point.
I was requested to revise the plan, and that's the plan you're now looking at to see if it's materially different. And the materially different is the amount of cubic volume of ledge not to be removed anymore. We're removing less, and then we're exposing more. So that's our difference. That's how this plan is substantially different. That's the substance. The substance is there's less ledge removed and more ledge exposed. So that's why we're resubmitting it.
But again, in square footage, and not in volume. I mean, we wrote the bylaw, and kind of revised the land alteration bylaw for, kind of a good reason. And it is saying volume right now and not square footage. So I do want to, kind of stress that fact.
So
Amy,
I think that the discussion at this point is worthy of taking a straw poll about the sentiment that the members of the board have regarding the situation. And I recognize that in saying what I just said, that would mean either we go ahead or we go back to a new starting point.
Well, Ms. Glassmeyer, you haven't made any comments about the what's proposed as being substantially different. And as council said, it's a subjective decision by the board.
So in my view, I have two perspectives. One is that this might not have ever occurred had a process recognizing what would need to be done with the new bylaw had actually been in operation. And so to some extent, we are in a situation where we are looking at something that has had a significant change that's legally binding. My view is that the impact on that particular piece of the property with an intense utilization activity is going to be potentially quite disruptive. And had there been a process that led up to this rather than it essentially arriving in a process that was associated with planning, managing it, I think it might have been a different situation, but we didn't have any choice. So I feel like, if anything, we were essentially a fait accompli was dealt to us without, this is not a negative for anybody involved in this. It just turns out that way.
Excuse me, Amy, Carolyn Murray has her hand up.
I can't see that, so
That's why I mentioned it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Caroline?
Chair. I just wanted to weigh in about, comment on two things, because I've heard you and Clark both mention something. I just want to clarify. As far as taking a straw poll, you certainly can take a straw poll, but if the board is ultimately going to vote to find that this either is specific and materially different such that they can go forward, file a new application and go through the hearing process all over again, one way or the other, the statute does require that the board actually take a vote on that. I understand you might want to get the sense of where the board members stand, but ultimately it requires a vote. And the other thing too is that it requires a vote of 4 members of a 5-member board. and you are a 5-member board, even though at the moment you have a vacancy, it is still a 5-member board. So it would require a unanimous vote of the 4 of you that are present this evening.
No,
You-
for a materially different
Correct.
determination?
Yes.
So I mean, I would plead to you, we can get into all the specifics and whether or not this complies or not, how disruptive it can be, what else we can do for, landscaping and such. But that should really all come when this is reopened as a public hearing. We can get into all that. I know I've spoken with the contractor about timeframes for ledge removal and how long it's going to take. I can get you specifics on all that when the time comes. At this point, though, I guess I just plead you to, give us that opportunity. If you're not sure this is where it's at for
Yeah.
you to approve it, that can be addressed as part of the public hearing. Maybe it doesn't get approved in one hearing. We have to make further changes and come back to you. But just at this point, we have made very significant changes. There certainly are material and specific changes that have been made. So I just ask again if we can advance this to a public hearing where we can get into all the details.
Can I,
I see that as only basically the only way forward.
Yeah,
Unless,
well, why don't we take a vote? I think we've talked about it enough.
can I ask before we do that? Can I,
Yes.
and ask and that's a process legal question to Carolyn. How soon, could the applicant reapply, with a new design?
Is it like 2 years if we don't give them
2
the,
years if,
Yeah, it's a 2-year prohibition before they can come back, unless, of course, tonight you vote to find that what they're proposing is materially different. And depending upon how prepared they are, they might be able to file a new application tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we already filed an application. So if I have to resubmit it with a new date for tomorrow, I can do that.
I'll make a motion that what we've seen tonight appears to be materially different enough from what was not approved at our regular special permit hearing.
Second,
roll call vote, please. Mr. Brewer,
Clark Brewer, aye.
Amy Glassmeyer, nay.
Well, that's it. We don't have to vote anymore, right? According to council,
Well, let's just have everybody weigh in so we've got a record of the vote, please.
Kevin Heine, A, yes.
and Birgit Schmidt-Besch, and I hope my nay is clear enough this time.
Was
I'm
that-
sorry.
was that a-
Birgit, can
yes
you
or
say
no,
what-
Birgit?
Could you say your vote again, please?
Nay.
Okay, thank you. So the item is now going to be essentially starting over. And we have a date not starting, not
No,
the
no,
entire project.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
No.
The applicant has to submit a different plan for consideration of it being
That's correct.
materially different.
Wait,
That
wait,
is
wait.
correct.
Can we back up a moment? What I just heard sounded more like a 3-1 or a 2-2 vote.
2-2. It was 2-2.
2-2. 2-2 doesn't pass. That doesn't make this, you have
it-
not found this to be a material change,
Right.
that they are banned from coming back for 2 years.
The applicant can't come with any special permit, no
I-
matter what.
They
the
could, I
change might
suppose they
be.
could come up with something entirely new,
Right, they
but
could change what what we just saw tonight as being materially different. They could change it and come back and we could have another 45-minute discussion about it. And then vote however we vote. Is that
well,
right?
No.
I don't think that they could just come back with another pickleball court application and, reorient the pickleball court a little bit. I don't think that's
I
necessarily.
didn't suggest that.
gonna
That was
fly,
what they
but-
would do. I don't know what the applicant's
Mhm.
team would do as something that the board should consider as being a material change. I have no idea.
No, but Clark, as far as I understand, and I've gone through a lot of training recently, so it's all fresh in my mind, right? Something. No, this is, yeah, kind of, I don't think there is no material change discussion with respect to this particular item.
We
Full
just had
stop.
a material change discussion.
Yes, and we're not going to have another one.
If the applicant comes back to us with another proposal that they believe is a material change, we have to take a look at it and decide. I mean, you're not saying that the applicant can't come back with any ledge removal for the next 2 years. I don't think
No,
that's what we're
No,
talking
I'm
about
not,
here.
I'm not
Okay,
saying that
good.
they can't come back. I mean, for all I know, for example, maybe they want to put in a shed instead and abandon the pickleball court or something.
An
But
expandable pickleball court.
whatever it may be,
Court in
you
a
know,
box.
but there, you know, in any event, it either has to be something that is very different so as not to resemble this denied application, or yes, we could possibly be going through another materially different application determination like we just did tonight.
Okay, I think the applicant probably understands what's
Can I
going on.
ask one last question? Just as a, I mean, Birgit, you voted aye, affirmative, and then you changed it to nay, is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
We
I
just did-
did
We didn't
say
hear her correctly.
I did say nay, and it may have been my accent.
No,
and-
tonight, because you
Tonight.
voted aye, and then you voted nay.
No,
'Cause it
no, I
was a-
said, no, nay.
Okay,
I don't know how to say it. Next time I spell it, N-A.
okay.
NYE.
I'm sorry.
It sounded to me like you changed it
No,
again.
I did not. They just wanted to hear
Okay.
it again.
So
that it's
what's the official vote?
Clear.
2-2?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so.
Can we move on to the next hearing?
Yes, thank you very much for the discussion on this issue, and we will expect that the applicant and whoever else the applicant chooses to discuss with Cassandra their next plan, their next step. All right, thank you. So let's move on to the second item of business tonight. And what that is a reopening of the public hearing for 165 Chief Justice Highway. So I'm opening up the hearing, and the applicant has a set of new diagrams and other material effects, as well as we have a peer review of the plan and the cross discussion of the peer review with the applicant. And so the issues that were identified have been discussed between the two parties. So let's begin with the applicant and ask them what their how they'd like to proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My name is Jeff DeLisi, Orenberger, DeLisi and Harris. I am a lawyer representing the applicant, Hingham Lumber Company, here with Tom McNulty, who is also is the president of Hingham Lumber Company, and then our engineers, Bill Buckley and Cameron Gray of Bay Colony Group. We last met on February 5th. Since February 5th, or well, let me see if I can recap. I mean, you're all familiar with the property, the business operation. There are two existing buildings, one of which is a retail store, one of which is a state-of-the-art lumber drive-in building. We've entered into a contract to purchase some land behind the existing site. The plan is to construct a 40,500 square foot distribution building behind the existing lumber building, which will be used in connection with the existing business. This new building is not to be open to the public. It will be primarily a site from which we will distribute larger overstock items and lumber. As you indicated, Madam Chair, since our last meeting, we did receive peer review comments. We've responded, filed supplemental materials, received a second comment letter from Weston and Sampson, who I see is here this evening, essentially indicating that they're satisfied with our responses. The building inspector has issued a letter confirming that the use is allowed in the district. The proposed structure dimensionally conforms to the bylaw. We have demonstrated compliance with applicable stormwater criteria. The fire department has been provided our turning analysis, and are satisfied. One of the primary components of the supplemental materials that you have in front of you is a plan that details kind of how the building works from the standpoint of loading and unloading and the synergy between the proposed building and the existing lumber building. We have sufficient capacity on the site. We'll be filing a plan with the Board of Health for septic. We fully conform to parking requirements as confirmed by the building inspector. We've filed a photometric plan. We're dark sky compliant. There's no material change in the business hours. We've analyzed that there will only be 0.1% of an increase in trip generations as a result of this proposal. And we use the data that was provided by Cassandra following our last hearing, which was one of the studies for another property in the neighborhood. Conservation will meet tomorrow, close, and hopefully vote to issue an order of conditions. One of the changes that you will see in your submittal package indicates that in the area north of the proposed building, at the request of Conservation Commission, we've pulled a small portion of what I'll call the driveway area further back from the resource area so that it's fully outside of the 100-foot buffer strip to resource area. There was some discussion at the last meeting regarding the height of a portion of a retaining wall on the property, and we've revised our plans to include a guardrail and a 4-foot chain link fence at the top of that wall for fall protection. So we believe that we've adequately responded to all the concerns and issues that we and that we satisfy the site plan criteria set forth in the zoning bylaw. I just want to remind the board that Hingham Lumber, which has been a first-class business, employs a whole bunch of people, serves the community, is a great source of revenue for the town of Cohasset, needs this project in order to project its business model into the future, and we look forward to continuing success for years to come. If the board wants to go over the revised plan, I'm more than happy to share my screen, or we can have Mr. Buckley or Mr. Gray answer any of your questions from kind of a technical plan standpoint, however you wish to proceed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So by what you were just saying, does this represent the kind of to and fro with our peer review and the resolution of items that were identified by the peer review?
Yes.
And it is a satisfactory conclusion on the part of both parties?
Yes.
All right, so then we can, the individual members of the planning board can discuss any items that are left in their mind that they'd like to have further understanding of. So we'll start with Mr. Brewer.
Well, I think my comments at our last hearing were dark sky, and we got the photometrics, and the fixtures look good, and that the roof has to be sized steel wise to be solar ready, if you will. But how high is this retaining wall behind the project?
That I will defer to Mr. Buckley. It's different heights in different areas, Clark, and
Okay, what's the maximum height, average, something like that?
So let's see. So the maximum height of the wall, which would be on the north end, is 20 feet.
20 foot high, straight up wall?
It's actually battered back. It's not a vertical concrete wall. It's a dry laid wall, the big blocks. So, every block goes back, I think, 4 inches.
Okay. All right, that's quite high. And that's where you have the chain link fence up to maybe where it drops off to a 6 foot height or 5 foot.
No, everywhere along the wall, everywhere we have the wall, no matter the height, we have a guardrail on top of it, and then we have a chain link fence as well. So it's like belt and suspenders, chain link fence will stop anybody walking, which there shouldn't be anybody, and then the guardrail is for vehicles.
Yeah, okay. And then I think it would be useful, maybe the other board members would also appreciate if Jim Reardon could just weigh in on his peer review and any specific things, not everything necessarily. If everything has been resolved with the applicant, I think that's great. But if there's anything that Jim Reardon would like the board specifically or recommend the board specifically, think there's something that you should bring to our attention about this application. Hi, Jim.
Good evening, Clark. How are you this evening?
Good.
Very good. Good evening, Chair Lasmere and members of the planning board, as well as other panelists. If you'd like, I can just share a brief PowerPoint and go through our peer review.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to go through the peer review. I did take a look at it. I guess what I was asking is there anything specific about this application that you want to bring to the board's attention, area of concern, or that you think was solved adequately?
Sure.
From a broad brush stroke.
Sure, absolutely. So, our findings here were consistent with what Attorney DeLisi was saying, that we feel like in general, I think we're pretty much completely things have been addressed. We found that initially there was a concern about the zoning district that this was in and whether it was allowed or not. John Hanlon wrote a letter on February 5th that indicated that they felt that this was consistent with the use. So I think that's a key thing. Maximum height of the building was reduced from 37 to 35 feet, which was consistent with the zoning. So that was helpful.
Yeah.
They've moved outside the northern portion of that 100-foot buffer, the wetlands buffer. So again,
A good move.
that was helpful.
Yeah.
Let's see, the loading zone has been located to the east of the building with designated snow storage areas, material staging, and general storage situated along the north side, which is helpful. They gave us two turning plans. One was for trucks entering in and out of the site, and another one was for the fire truck. Those both looked appropriate to us. And then let's see, other than that, I think we've the other things are relatively more detailed things, but they were consistent with the comments or addressed the comments that we made. And so, we would say that from our perspective, from a technical standpoint, that they addressed all the comments, and the plan and application look to be appropriate for the site.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Birgit, would you like to make comment?
No, I didn't have any further comments. I had my comments last time, and that was, just a minor one.
You, Mr. Hine?
Just two things, and I don't recall seeing this on the plans or any mention of it, but is there a designated area for snow piling, if we have a snowy winter, normal winter, and the paved surfaces are cleared, where that would occur, and any thought as to that? Is that a part of the approved plans, either in front of us or what you use in front of Concom and consideration thereof?
Yes, there is. Bill, you can, if you want, you can address that, but there is that area. We've also talked with Concom about appropriate
Okay,
first
if it's
fall.
handy and you can show me, that'd be great. If it's, I know Concom's approved this, or you're in front of them tomorrow. What was the status on that?
We're in front of them tomorrow. We've had essentially a final hearing where they were ready to vote to approve, but there was one straggling question which we've since satisfied. So we expect a vote to close, and Charlotte has already drafted orders for approval.
Okay, so it wasn't
can I just-
necessarily about this issue I raised, but if you have, and I do see a figure with the red highlighting in front of me, if that is salient to this point, I wouldn't mind hearing some info on that.
Sure, of
Yes.
course.
So what you're looking at here is this is our snow storage plan. So this heavier hatch, this is sheet 8 in your plan set if you have one with you. So these are the two areas we've identified for snow storage on the site. And up here in this corner here, it just goes through the planning assumptions, the total paved area, plowing area, available storage, how much we can store. And so
Yep.
this is it. And we've
Okay, that's great. I can see the detail and the schematic as well as your points. And thought has been put into that, and that's shown on this, and that's great. I appreciate you pointing that out. The other point is I just want to make sure I heard the point by Attorney DeCisi. It's a diminished amount of traffic change. I heard 1% or 1/10 of 1%. What were you referring to with regard to that? Is that foot traffic, people? What can you shed some light on, more detail on that, please?
Sure. So what Hingham Lumber estimates is, this facility is being used to reallocate space within their existing building, outside storage. So what they're estimating for the amount of traffic it's going to generate, 1 additional tractor trailer trip per day and 10 delivery trucks additional per day. So that's roughly 11 trips per day. And then, but the amount of traffic out on 3A, it's according to the Vaness report for the Situate Hill project, is 20,450 trips per day. And that was in 2022. So it's probably only gone up since then. So that's where we came up with that, like 1/10 of 1%. It's really very de minimis. There's no foot traffic. This is not a drive-through building. This is only for storage for Hingham Lumber. So we don't expect any more, Joe homeowner going up there through there. It would be, the additional flow would be delivery vehicles that they were sending out coming in.
So I just points well taken about this isn't a retail. This isn't a building that would facilitate retail traffic, but there's going to be traffic to fill it up. There's going to be traffic to maintain it and inventory in and out of it, and then maintain it. I mean, I'm aware of what the traffic is on 3A in this area, 3A, and whether Hingham Lumber is contributing to all of it or not. I would say postulate they're not, because there's other entities going in and around and working that part of the corridor there. I'm just trying to understand and try to get some comfort that this isn't going to increase traffic. And you said it wouldn't material do it, but I hear back at the envelopes, and I know traffic over there isn't great at certain times of the day already. And I just need to hear some more about how this isn't going to change things to increase traffic. Because if you're filling up this building, it's a large building, there's going to be increased traffic to do that. if you're maintaining product in and out of that building, I guess I'm not convinced that there wouldn't be an increase in traffic attributable to that. So I'll just stop talking here and I'll like to hear.
Okay, so this
could
isn't,
agree
this
with
isn't a
that,
back
too.
of the envelope analysis. So Hingham Lumber's been in business for many years. And we've been thinking about this project. We've been working with them for probably 3 or 4 years on it now. And so they understand the way they move their material around. So I think what I'm going to do is ask Tom McNulty to jump in here because he can discuss, these numbers are based on what he
Sure.
knows about his operation. So
Sure.
Tom can discuss it or explain it better than I just did.
Sure. Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's not a retail operation. It's a distribution building. So we're basically taking employees from the current warehouse and we're moving them into the distribution. So tractor trailers that come in there on a daily basis, we now take them and put them in the yard, the product that comes off these vehicles, we put it in the yard or inside the existing building. What we propose is that we'll be taking that product and putting it in another building to eliminate congestion and be more efficient with the way we move, because currently there are days when it's really busy and we're in each other's way. So it's a safety issue as well as an efficiency problem. And this building will eliminate those things dramatically. So picture you have a 2-car garage, but you have 5 cars. Wouldn't it be nice, although it might not be legal, that you have a 5-car garage? That's essentially what we're doing is we're distributing the product in a larger area so we're more efficient and more safe. And we're taking away, essentially what we're doing in this new building is we're taking all of our special orders. Those are products that come in and it might be doors, windows, or kitchens that you order. They sit for a while, sometimes 1 day, sometimes 2 months, and they sit around. And right now it congests that existing building. So we're creating another building and put those things. We don't have to worry about people driving through the warehouse, and we're trying to put that product inside the existing warehouse. It creates a lot of congestion. And again, safety is really number one when we're thinking about what we're doing. So we're really not creating, we're really creating a better space, a more efficient space, and a much more safer space. So I almost argue that there's no more traffic, and that the traffic that we have will be coordinated much better than we currently have. Any questions?
Oh, that's helpful. I like your analogy of the garage. I was thinking of a refrigerator analogy, and you got to kind of get to the ice cream in the back of it, but you got to move all this other stuff to get to it. And the household still has the same number of people accessing that refrigerator, but sometimes it's nice to just have a larger unit because you want to service it better. So that's helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you, Tom. I don't have any other questions.
And just one kind of question on my understanding. So mostly the traffic will be, kind of on your site from, kind of from below to upper storage. Is
The
that correct?
drive-through warehouse, yes.
Okay.
And it will remain there. So yeah. The big thing too is every time you move a product, there's a risk that you damage it. And when you damage it many times, it's no good. So this eliminates a lot of those issues as well. We won't have to move product around before it finally gets on a truck to get shipped out.
Okay, thank you. So I have a few questions that I'd like some help with. So the first is that according to the plan that I saw, the building height is 37 feet. And I am wondering if there's a difference between the building that you're proposing and a residential structure, such that you're 2 feet over the typical maximum height of a building that we approve.
Well, there's no difference in how height is measured. Whether it's commercial or residential, the measurement criteria of the zoning bylaw is the exact same. the 30, so we made an error in our initial plan set when we submitted a 37-foot high building because the former zoning district, which had just passed, had allowed, I think, a 40-foot high building. So this was something that was caught by Jim actually in his review and first brought to my attention at that point, at which point we went back to the drawing board and we've since revised the height such that it is not 37 feet, it is 35 feet. So on the current plan set that you have, it now has 35 feet.
Okay, and that's this true also for Cassandra. So the plans that she has are 35 feet because ours that we had didn't have were actually higher than 35 feet in the
Yeah.
initial discussions. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the first thing. That's very helpful. Okay, so the second thing is that I would like someone to differentiate. I want to take the road that we're talking about, having trucks on and cars on, and a child care center across, and a food location across, and a shopping center across, and a garden store across, within the realm of where trucks might not intentionally congregate, but just because the trucks are coming kind of in a group because they're trying to get to someplace next, and they're doing it in a systematic way. For me, the traffic issue relates to the mix of the types of both uses of the land around the site, plus the kinds of automobile and truck equipment that are actually passing through the site. So one of the things that I find opaque in your diagrams is that there's so much documentation of what is going to happen on this site that you can't really look and see what the turning radius is of the trucks as they come in. And so what I would have hoped we would do is to have a traffic counter to actually know what happens even before the project is completed. Because that's typically, if you're interested in actually getting an accurate estimate of what the traffic flow is on both sides at different times during the day, you'd take a week and you'd put a traffic counter on it and you'd know the answer. And if there's no traffic, that there is impeded and it seems like a perfect flow, then you'll never have to worry about feeling that something was left ajar. But as I look at this, what kind of a turn are the trucks going to make when they come into the driveway? Are they going to make an L turn, a right turn or a left turn, but a sharp turn? Leaving or entering?
I'm going to put up this diagram that we, I don't know why I can't do this. Let's see. Here we go. Not this one, hold on. Can we see that?
I can.
Okay, good. So the way the traffic, and Tom, jump in here if I
Yeah.
misspeak. So the way the traffic is, 3A is out here.
Mhm.
So there's a driveway that comes in. This is the drive through the existing building. Trucks come in and they go counterclockwise around the site. So they currently come in the back here. They'll go in this area. This is the loading and unloading area. And then there's this kind of light line, which you see right there.
Mhm.
This is the edge of the existing pavement. So they come into the back, they load and unload, and then go back this way. So the way we see the traffic flow coming in now is, and what we're showing here for the most part, these are tractor trailers coming in. So a tractor trailer comes in, this side of the building has 4 loading docks that are depressed so that trucks can come in, and, the tractor trailers, everybody knows what I'm talking about. So a tractor trailer would come in, and what we're showing is this, how they get in. So it would come in and then back into the site and then unload into this building. And then when it leaves, it goes out this way, which is what this turn shows, and then goes back out down this way. Other tractor trailers, depending on the materials they have, might come in, again, they all come in this direction. They load and unload here. What we're showing is these are tractor trailers parked in the loading zone. What these little things are the
Forklifts.
forklifts. So this is how a forklift would pull up, back out, come around. There are 4 doors on this side of the building, but these doors are at ground level, so they're not depressed. So if there was unloading going on and it had that type of material that was coming in this side of the building, this is how they would go. Again, you can see we're not blocking the way out. So if there was a truck coming out from this direction, pulling out, it would still be able to get in and out of here. So this is the flow. Again, this has been well thought out from years of experience and how the flow currently works and how they want it to work with this new building. And that's it. It all comes in from this one driveway from 3A, goes counterclockwise around the buildings or building, and then back out down that roadway. Is
All
that
right.
somewhat clear?
Okay, so what is the entrance radius coming into the driveway? If the truck is coming from the east or the west, are they going to be making a sharp turn to come into the driveway if they're a large truck?
Are you
And
talking
if-
about out on 3A or the
Yeah.
site management?
when the truck is coming off of 3A into the driveway, what is the angle of the, yes, it's right here. So where
Same
you've
as
got
it is
that,
now, right?
This here, Amy, this is my
Okay.
screen. Yeah, this is my screen you're looking at. So if you were to measure that distance, I have to move this. It's approximately 80 feet, I believe. So if we were to take kind of like a spot here and go to here, yeah, you got about 77 feet in width on the entrance of the way, and then as far as like as far as like the width of the actual driveway, it's about 25-30 feet. So it's not a situation where cars are banging a very hard left or a hard right. It's wide enough at the kind of intersection of Chief Justice Cushing Highway and the driveway to be able to angle in. And as far as the counts are concerned, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but I believe in order for you to make the analysis that you did as far as the trip generations are concerned, is that you utilized data from that had already been counted on a traffic study that was done in this area. So you already had that, and then you just did a calculation to figure out how many more trucks might we be adding in a worst case scenario. I think what you heard from Tom is that that's not even necessarily, that's probably a conservative measure. The increase of 0.1% is probably conservative, because really what we're doing is redistributing items on site. It's not like this building is being used to increase more business. It's just redistributing and making the existing business efficient. So we don't expect really any increase in a traffic on Chief Justice Cushing Highway. We think that the entrance is wide enough and has an angle so that it's not unsafe. You can also see that that this stretch of 3A is also kind of helpful because we have a nice long view down the road south and also north. You can pretty much see all the way past, you know, this intersection at least. So the sight distances are probably safe as well. So we don't think we're adding more traffic. Even if we are in a conservative measure, it's a very, very minute amount. And we're utilizing calculations in a prior study that the town accepted. And in any event, we think we have a safe situation. And the whole purpose of this is to make the flow on site safer, in addition to more efficient and to redistribute the business.
Could
So
I,
that would be the answer.
could I just add too that Bill was also the engineer when we opened the building. And we opened 22 years ago. The entrance to Hingham Lumber has worked very well, knock on wood, in the 22 years of operation. So had we seen anything or noted any issues with it, it would have been one of the first areas that we looked for him to change. But we saw no reason to change that. Truck traffic coming from either the north or the south, or, you know, residential traffic or contractor traffic, which is typically pickup trucks. We see no issues whatsoever in the 22 years that we've been there. So we did not ask him to make any changes there. We just didn't see the need. It wouldn't pose any issue for me to make changes there if we found a need. That's the way I react to a situation. So it's worked out well for the 22 years we've been in operation in Cohasset.
So the other thing we should point out too, I'm sorry, is that 3A is under Mass DOT jurisdiction. And so when we had to do Hingham Lumber, which includes the tractor trailers coming in that have been coming in for the past 22 years, that was part of the design that we presented to Mass DOT, in which they approved. And any activity going on out there, any changes have to go through them. And that these numbers wouldn't even, well, we don't even have to file with them because the numbers are so small that we're changing our use on the site.
You're probably going to have more traffic created on this road from your new police station than you would by this operation.
So you can say then that the left or right-hand turn into the driveway does not ever require a large tractor trailer to go into the other lane in order to be able to get themselves and their nose up into the driveway to go up the hill. You can say that and I wouldn't see it at all, ever.
I don't know.
What I would say is,
I don't know how people drive, but there's no need
Right.
to. That doesn't mean
Right.
somebody might drive over. There's no need to. And we haven't had issues with it. We just haven't.
You can see the reason why I'm concerned. This is it for you. Maybe this isn't a congested area, but for the public who's using this area, it regularly gets congested so that there's a line of cars either trying to get out of your driveway or get into your driveway. And then we have multiple different types of operations with different purposes and different travel conditions in this general vicinity. It's not a place where it's totally free of traffic congestion. And the point is really, will there be situations in which there's going to be congestion and it's going to be further exacerbated? Or are the trucks that are coming only the trucks that have always come? No more trucks other than the ones that have been there now.
Amy, we don't expect to be contributing more congestion than what there already is. And the road being a state highway was laid out and designed to accommodate these kinds of vehicles. It's not North or South Main Street. So, but I certainly don't mean to be dismissive of you at all. But very respectfully, congestion and traffic is most certainly an issue for this board. We just don't think that we're contributing in any way that would adversely affect congestion in this area over what it is currently.
So the amount of truck traffic or traffic in general will stay the same.
Yes, that's our numbers are telling us that in a conservative analysis, it would increase by 0.1% as a result of this operation, which I can't tell you that that's exactly the same, but it's certainly up to the judgment of the board to determine whether they think that's an increase that's material or not.
All right, thank you. I appreciate your help.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the criteria 6 under site plan review does say that the movement within the site and access street be safe and convenient, but the access out onto 3A isn't changing, and there's no reason for it to change if it's already working, and Mass DOT is happy with what's going on there.
All right, planning board members, does anyone have further commentary on this site plan review?
I just have a very small question, another one. The current lumber building in the back, right? That's where you have to pass by to get to the storage building. And currently there are a number of products to the side and to the back of the current lumber building, right? There's Pebble and there are tile, yeah, kind of to the side. And so I was just, where is all that product to go?
Tom, you're best to answer
Sure.
that question.
Yeah, and that's again, one of the issues that we have is leaving lumber outside. It may and can deteriorate, and we want to keep it inside. So we're going to try to get as much lumber inside as possible. As far as blocks, and I think you're talking about pavers and things of that nature, masonry products, those will still remain outside. But the lumber portion, decking and whatnot, we want to get it inside, and that's
okay. You just have to move it somewhere, right? Because somewhere else, correct? Because the roads leading in and out to the storage building will pass by the lumber building, correct? And now the stone material is and some of the lumber materials to the side and to the back of your current lumber building, right? So where are you going to move it? That was my question.
Yep.
Do you think you answered that, Tom?
I hope so. If I didn't, I can.
Yeah, where would the stones go that do stay outside? Where does the stuff that
The stones will remain outside. Right now, we're really tight for space because we have been moving product around, anticipating construction. So we have stones or pavers, if you will, that are in places that they won't be when the building is in place. We also have some product as far as lumber products that are in the backyard behind the existing warehouse that will be inside the warehouse.
But where does the pebble go? Where do the stone products go in the end? Yeah, kind of where's
around the perimeter of the building.
Yeah, Tom, I think that
is that what you're talking about? The pavers
I think that Birgit is concerned about safety after this is all done in relation to where these products, which will be stored outside, where will they be on the site, so she could be satisfied that that it's a safe site, I think.
They won't be stored on a drive area. So around the perimeter of the existing building, we have areas that are not drive areas, but we use them as storage areas. So although they're not fenced in, that wouldn't make any sense. they're off the beaten path. They're off the drive areas. In some cases, 16 feet beyond the drive areas.
So you would move them further out, right? So like you,
I'm not sure we'd move them further up. We'd probably leave them the same as they were prior to us moving them about a month ago. We've done a lot of changes and
okay,
we
I
have
haven't
an
been up there
existing-
for a while, but that's,
Yeah.
yeah, I just know that they're stuck to the side, and if we are wanting to drive there now, where is it gonna go, right?
Yeah, there's no problem driving. We
Okay.
bring units of 16 and 20-foot lengths of lumber around the perimeters of the building, so there's plenty of room to drive. It will not be closed off. Again,
me.
that's a
Those,
safety issue.
those
that-
paved areas, north or south of the existing building, those are 50 feet wide, and the paved area to the east or the 3A side
Mhm,
of your existing storage building looks like it's 80 or 90 feet.
yeah. And
So that's plenty of room for storage of materials plus two-way traffic, but you only have one-way traffic.
correct.
Okay.
Which is the way it currently is as well,
Yeah, yeah, that makes
traffic-wise,
sense.
yeah.
50,
Thank-
a standard subdivision roadways, 24 feet, so you've basically got twice the width at the minimum that a subdivision roadway would be. Which should be enough.
All right. Other comments? Any additional comments from anyone of the planning board? If there is no further discussion, then,
I can make a motion, Ms. Glassmeyer.
please.
Make a motion to approve the site plan, given the criteria, 1 through 6, which, the project is harmonious with its, immediate neighbors, that the resources won't be unduly exhausted, erosion is controlled, runoff is controlled, no undue pollution, and that the vehicular traffic within the site is safe and convenient. In addition to any of our standard conditions for site plan review that Cassandra would put on our final decision.
We need to specify that it is that we are talking about the revised, kind of site plan. Because Amy had a
Yes,
little.
the
confusion.
latest, the motion would include the late reference to the latest updates of plans. That would be the standard preamble as a part of the decision to reference those documents.
And that date is on the site plan is last revised on March 5th, 2025.
That is
Okay.
standard procedure to include the dates of the revisions of the documents, so that way it's documented.
All right, thank you. And I believe Mr. Brewer included the date of the most recent documents. Can I get a second?
Second,
Roll call, please.
Clark Brewer, aye.
Amy Glassmeyer, aye.
Kevin Heine, aye.
and Birgit Schmidt-Wiesche, aye.
The vote for the approval of site plan for 165 Chief Justice Highway is a vote of 4-0, positive. Thank you.
And thank you
luck.
to the board
Thank you.
for your thoughtful comments and discussion. And should you have any further questions, we're here to answer.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
all right.
efforts. Good luck with your project.
Yeah, I'd like to make one comment before, because we're done with our job right now. And that is, there's a desire to have a discussion about the way in which we have our meetings, whether we want to have our meetings as a flexible meeting of both in person and offsite, or only in person. And so in our next meeting, I would like to recommend that we have a formal discussion about this, so we understand people's preferences and understand their limitations.
the current Zoom allowed platform meeting got extended by the Attorney General. Is that right, Carolyn?
It's been extended by the legislature for another 2 years. So now we're
Years.
looking at March of 2027.
Okay, so potentially we could just keep going the way we've been going.
You can, yes.
But yeah, I think it makes sense to talk about it next time.
Yes, that's what we will do. Cassandra, can you give us a look forward to what we have before us in the next maybe 6 weeks?
Yes, I was actually just going to mention that. So I think that there is going to be an A&R application coming in. Someone did call pre my vacation inquiring about scheduling and when they could apply. I have not received that application as of yet. So right now you do not have anything scheduled for your April 30th meeting. Pending that or any other A&R application not coming in, your next scheduled meeting would be May 14th.
All right, and regarding the.
Birgit has a
Oh,
question.
excuse me.
Amy, quickly, I will not be present, April 30th. So just to keep in mind, kind of that we have a quorum.
Right. Oh, and by the way, I don't know how many of you saw, but Deidre, and Deidre might have just done it to me and maybe to Cassandra, that she had a family medical issue that she had to resolve. And so that is why she wasn't at our meeting tonight.
That must have just been to you because I also didn't get that email.
Okay, so because it whizzed right by and then I had to find it and I didn't think it was worthy of disrupting the meeting for that notice.
Sure.
Do we have any meeting minutes that we wish to approve?
You do not, because your last meeting was directly before my vacation and I just got back, so I haven't done them yet.
All right.
Any other, like, sorry, I interrupted. Cassandra was telling you that I'm not going to be here next meeting. So do you have any other applications planned for the meet? No, okay.
Nope, right now you don't have any pending applications, so it's just whatever comes in. Which obviously, if anything comes in, I will update the board and let you know when your next meeting will have something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
I'll
right.
make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn.
Clark Brewer, aye. Then.
Amy Glassmeyer, aye.
Kevin Heine, aye.
And Birgit Schmidt-Becher, aye.
Thank you, all of you,
you.
Carolyn, and also Cassandra. And we, at this point, do not have anything on our docket for May 14th either. So it sounds like we might have a little bit of breathing room.
I will be contacting you, however, once the decision for 165 CJC is ready just for signatures. So look out for that. But yes, you may have a little bit of a breather.
Okay.
So if
Can
we
I-
don't have a meeting, will you let us know we don't have a meeting as well, or is
Yes.
it?
Yep. No,
Thank you.
I'll keep you up to date. That way everybody
good.
is abreast.
Thank you.
Good night.
You're welcome.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.